Good morning.
Good morning.
It's both very heartwarming and heart entwining to be back with all of you this morning in my root Sangha. And it's so quite different than being on Zoom, where I can fix my seat the way I want. And big problem is on Zoom, you can't hear everyone's name during Soji round. And I really miss that. That's not in my comments, but I really miss that. Let me start with saying, with many bows and thank yous to Setsuan, Kogen Glen Duval, Roshi, Abbot, wise teacher, leader, encourager, friend, and who, with others here and not here. Also inhabit wonderful, though intermittent, manifesting presence of joy, happiness, and some difficulty, and much, much hope in my life. I don't know how I would survive without that hope. So I'm going to mention a few of those people who are not here in my talk. But there are many more who support us and encircle us with love, compassion, arms of warmth. Okay? So with the aid of named and unnamed, known and unknown and assistants, Galen has asked that each Sunday Dharma talk focus on the next fascicle in Dogen's Shobo Genzo, Treasury of the True Dharma Eye. The particular order of these Dogen texts does not derive from their chronological order or any specific fascicle's particular happy resonance with the giver of the Dharma talk, which is sometimes a real problem. Happy, sad, neutral resonance are what comes forward to meet us each new day. It's sort of like, yes, I thought that restaurant would be not only quiet, but with really great food. Who knew that the quiet should be understood as the food quality had gone down a little bit? Yeah, and had gone down so much the prices, though, had gone up. Who knew that? In any case, it was really amazing to see Emily there, and she remembered us after so many years, and the upgrade of the decor was very nice. The very nice is my wife's and mine neutral compliment. I once asked a Dharma friend who facilitates a geographically dispersed group called Tea with Dogen about his take on the merit or purpose of one reordering as opposed to another. His answer was that he felt the motivation of any given essay was always to help Dogen's students. Always. A group in their own way is varied as us here today. The approach in that Tea with Dogen group was we would meet in person and some on Zoom each week for about 1.5 hours. The group's members would hand copy the fascicle version translated by Kaz, and one member, usually from San Francisco Zen Center, and the group would then discuss what came up for those wishing to share. We had to copy the fascicle by hand on nice paper with, in my case, a real fountain pen. which meant what? You couldn't go out like this, and it was not good. Okay. This sharing could be a question or understanding or wondering wondering about a part of the fascicle that resonated with one or more of the group in their copying, reading, or discussion. After finishing the cause version, we would read the Nishijima and Cross version. This approach has evolved over the multiple years I have been with the group. It's really good to be with a group for multiple years. Really, really good. Because as those years advance, you get older and people take you very carefully. They give you all kind of leeway. Anyway, with the publishing of the Sodoshu version, the meeting still only lasts 1.5 hours, now exclusively on Zoom, though it can take quite a number of weeks to get through even one short fascicle, as we cover the footnotes pointing us to the supplementary material. I don't know how many here have sort of perused the Sodoshu version. Yeah, there's some hands. And so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can spend a whole 1.5 hours on one of the phrases that appears in Dogen's talks in the supplementary material. As a matter of fact, that group is trying to get through one fascicle, Flowers in the Sky, and we've managed maybe 2 paragraphs and 2 supplemental notes. That's it. Okay. Just a bit more before entering the tangled vines of my briar patch fascicle, Kato. Yes. I doubly apologize to Uncle Remus, actors Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox, who may continue to laugh after their respective performances as they change into street clothes in their dressing room. You know, we all need to change into street clothes to do the next job. Unless your job is here. Kato, the Sino-Japanese title, is my lottery winning number 38. I don't even think that's on, maybe it's somewhere there. Anyway, you know, when you go to bet money, and maybe 38 is a number you can put red chips or black chips.
Oh yeah, sure, we understand that.
Thank you. Chronologically, Kato was written in 1243, and the title has been translated into English as Tangled Vines or Twining Vines by the 2 translations we typically use here at the Houston Zen Center. Both translations are available in our library. Indeed, you can probably find 4 or 5 different English translations. By the way, one of the teachers who I met this morning referenced Shasta Abbey. And there was a complete translation of the Shobo Genzo from that tradition as well. And at times we would read that particular translation as well. As I said, both translations are available in the library. Our friend Kaz attributes this particular translation to himself and Mel Weitzman. Mel, who was a student of Suzuki Roshi, a dear though departed friend of Houston Zen Center. Mel was the founder and first abbot of the Berkeley Zen Center, and co-abbot with our founder, Tenshin Zenki Reb Anderson, at the San Francisco Zen Center. Dogen's discussion in this fascicle centers around his understanding of what develops between teacher and students and what is transmitted, in this particular case, between Bodhidharma and Taiso Ika, with 3 other Dharma brothers and one sister, when the transmission has yet to occur. As an introduction to his discussion, Dogen brings up a phrase said by his late master Rujing. I quote one of the translations. The bottle gourd vine entangles the bottle gourd. Kato is usually understood to refer to those climbing vines which can't support themselves as they reach for the sun and so cling to already upright supports. We all need that upright support sometimes. Dogen then goes on to explain it as metaphorically describing the process of Buddhas and ancestors investigating Buddhas and ancestors. The Buddhas and ancestors verifying and according with the Buddhas and ancestors. It is, for example, to transmit the mind by the mind. In a footnote, the Soto Shu translation notes, says, the bottle gourd vine entwines the bottle gourd, suggests a state of complete entanglement in words, and that Dogen's teacher, Rujing, taught these very entanglements are the scissors to cut off entanglements, as well as to deeply become one as teacher and student. Sometimes that might be scary. Sometimes it might be delightful. Sometimes, unfortunately, we may miss it. The description of the meeting between Bodhidharma and the 4 senior students is described in a koan story, number 200, of the 301 koans that Dogen brought back with him from his trip in China. I'm glad it's hard to get these pages apart, otherwise I might even make my 30 minutes. Yeah, so he starts his very first transmission. Dogen starts his essay by bringing up the very first transmission between Gautama Buddha and Maha Kassapa, and then quickly moves to the 28th generation to discuss the Indian ancestor Bodhidharma. That's because his audience was very knowledgeable, and they went through the Buddha names, many times, so they knew all of those 28 generations. We only do that on very important occasions, when we have a long retreat or session, and we read the names of both the male descendants up through Kohan Ijo, I think, only, and the female descendants and teachers. There's some thinking that Bodhidharma's transmission was offered to him by a woman, Prajnatara, and that Prajnatara herself was the person who mainly encouraged Bodhidharma to take the Buddha Dharma to China. That's really amazing, isn't it? She understood something that the other males didn't understand. I'm glad. Because otherwise it wouldn't be here either. Also, in the context of bringing up the 4 Bodhidharma students together and requesting they speak to what their current understanding of the Buddha Dharma was, he further unpacks the aspect of no separation in the body of lived Buddha Dharma, even when there seems to be differences in the understanding of the four students. These disciples of Bodhidharma were Dofuku, a longtime searcher for a true teacher of the Buddha Dharma, the nun Soji, who may have had a relationship with Emperor's Wu family, interestingly, a younger male student like Doiku, and the final one is Taiso Ika, to whom Bodhidharma did entrust with the continuation of Buddha Dharma as the second ancestor of China. To each committed student, Bodhidharma asked their current understanding of the Buddha Dharma. Disciple Dofuku said, "What I want to express is that I do not become attached to words, but at the same time, I do not ignore them. I practice the state of truth." The Bodhidharma said, "You have got my skin." Nun Soji said, what I have understood is that like Master Ananda, who looked at the country of Astika Buddha once, but never looked at it again, and was not distraught by this, Bodhidharma said, "You have got my flesh." Little intersection here. How many of us have had that moment where something great happened and we keep trying to get back to it? Again and again. Oh yeah, lots of hands. I got my hand way high up. So anyway, he said to Nun Soji, "You have got my flesh." Doiku said the four elements, and I'll name them so none of us have to guess. Earth, water, fire, wind are originally as if they were nothing, that is empty. And the five aggregates, matter, feeling, idea, action, consciousness, are not real existence. So my viewpoint is without fixed entity, there is nothing to be gained. This is my aside again, if nothing to be gained, certainly nothing to run after and miss that power of running. And that power of running is the very possession you are already running after. I hope that was a clear sentence. It didn't sound clear to me. Oh well. That's the old saying, you already have it, don't search after it, because it's already, every step you take, it's already with you. And if you're running after it, you miss the fact that it's already with you. Finally, Master Taiso Eiko stepped forward, prostrated, and stood in his place. Bodhidharma said, "You have got my marrow." Not many words come from Taiso Eiko's mouth, and very few from Bodhidharma's. Dogen then takes exception to these skin, flesh, bones, and marrow as being unequal of value, or successfully deeper in understanding. They appear when they're needed, and they fully appear when they are needed. Just like for all of us, it's really hard to stand up if you don't have bones. And it's really, really hard to enjoy a shower if you don't have skin. Okay. Often the speaker's intention and the listener's understanding do not merge with complete understanding. It would seem that with these students, Bodhidharma and each student have obtained bodily parts without any surgery. Damn impressive. Time for another short digression. So please breathe. You help yourselves and me through this stop sign moment. Though the focus in this fascicle about transmission was special person, great ancestor Bodhidharma, to special person, great ancestor Taisa Ika, I would ask those of you here to raise in your mind your own great special person, and to take up all your courage in a remembered or imagined face-to-face moment. In this moment, to both ask and hear each other's understanding of a special transitional moment when you and their understanding bring you deeply together in kindness and generosity, even with apparent different plans. This may happen again and again because understanding is sometimes behind layers of belief bricks. So I'm going to let everyone do some breathing for a second and think that through for themselves, imagine it through for themselves. And let your special person surface in yours and theirs entangled time, even while in a minute or so we go on. I know it's not a test. Okay, we will go on. Because for me, the most important part of the Dharma talk is Q&A. That's really the most important. And then it's elaboration during social meeting over nourishing bites of silence and food, and also because we all have so many life appointments to get on with. Perhaps you are wondering, as I am, what learning would I or any of us give Bodhidharma addressing us as he addressed the four followers in this essay, saying, "The time is coming. Why don't you say what you have attained?" Keeping in mind that the time is always coming and we should not waste our lives. The time is always coming for all of us, even if we do not believe its arrival is imminent. So even if there's no other person to ask us, what have you attained, or what is your understanding of how to live this life, we have to look in the mirror and ask that face in the mirror to respond. So for myself, I would relate a learning my dear departed friend Peter Bernard said. Short diversion. Peter and I started out together on our Buddha Dharma journey when our group was known as the Houston Zen Community and was practicing in the tradition of Thich Nhat Hanh. Later our group became the Houston Zen Center, and as the result of one of our HCC founding members, Kathy Crouch's search for a teacher of her own, sought out Tenshin Zenki at the San Francisco Zen Center. Diversion over. To what my understanding at this time is, I open and close doors very softly and quietly. And also, I do not run through the kitchen where I was once upon a time told by our session Tenzo, Reverend Dale Kent, that running after something is not our way. Not in the kitchen, not in the zendo, not trying to get back to the zendo after soji, or really after anything except to save a being. Brought home to me in a story told by our founder, Reb Anderson, Reb Anderson's relationship with his toddler granddaughter. When she was running towards a busy intersection, and even then he yelled for her to stop. She stopped. A very fine alternative to running. There are other understandings which are quite often great miracles of the same down-to-earth character, if I understand Maite's recent presentation of the fascicle Jinzu, spiritual powers. Okay, let's take a moment to breathe. I'll check my watch. Perhaps no other person knows you're a special person and may not know how they have been special for you. Here I am reminded of Joy, our long-term administrative assistant, giving her first Dharma talk, which I listened to on Zoom. And she was talking about Reverend Yazan Wild Mountain Dave Johnson, also an important person here. You see most of these wood efforts, those are all Yazans, except for maybe the front table.
That's right.
Okay. So she was in session, and Yazan said, asked her, how was she doing with the sitting still and so forth. She related how much easier it was to actually sit still after she saw Dave moving completely with all arms and torsos about and moving in various ways. Somehow, what she saw was a special kindness beyond words that reached Joy in the deepest part of some uncomfortableness and released it. She had met a very significant other person in that moment. Joined her. That's really, really important. If I, Kogen Glen, am represented in this essay, it is most definitely outside of words and letters, examples of which are ironically recalled in words and stories about transmission, a description or explanation that recalls various kinds of transmission, like the twirling of a flower in a smile, like the baby's words baha, baha, waha, waha, or a hammer hitting emptiness, or prostration and return to your seat, followed by, you have got my marrow. Is this entanglement in words and understanding before, after, smoothly through words, or beyond words? Perhaps the complete story is wrapped with a bow of words, so all present can know the precious gift given and received. We all come into life and continue to life because of and through the efforts of parents. For humans, this parental support continues much longer than for other animals. Like other humans, I often attribute a stubborn changelessness to my specific karmic history, though it is not an inheritance as such. Even though we chant in our repentances, all my beginningless twisted karma from greed, hate, and delusion, born through body, speech, and mind? I now fully avow. I have from time to time added resistance and indolence to the list, being born from stubbornness and indifference. This is common to all humans, rather than children of a particular set of parents. While the DNA test can tell us potentially strong familial relations, for example, in my case, my X and Y chromosomes say something about my parents' relative contributions of the two major centers of Mediterranean Jewish population. DNA is quite silent on understanding the nurture's contribution of our lives. I'm glad this is not written with fountain pen ink. Here I am using nurture in the broad sense of a village comprising many cultures and beliefs among the residents. Along with parents and families, and through interactions with teachers, friends, and significant others, and the variety of fellow humans and non-human compatriots in various roles and relationships to each of us, we get or inherit or continually understand and enact nurture's contributions. Analogous to nature contributions of skin, flesh, bones, and marrow, these nurture contributions of entanglements and entwinings are established, explored, untangled, and marked with directions and warnings, and refined over a lifetime, perhaps to the point of not needing external GPS to get us and others safely home. Even if we still need some GPS, that GPS is usually reaching out for a friend's hand and walking together.